Niagara Falls, Buffalo, 98.5 FM.
An Odyssey sports station.
Get in on the conversation. Call, tweet, or text Schopp and the Bulldog this afternoon, 3 to 7 p.m. on WGR Sports Radio 550. The radio home of the Buffalo Sabres. WGR Sports Radio 550 and WGR550.com. This is a Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update.
Sabres game night as Buffalo is in Ottawa to take on the Senators pregame at 6 for a 7 p.m. puck drop. All signs pointing to James Reimer getting the start in net, while Josh Norris and Jordan Greenway appear to be out tonight. While for Ottawa, we do know Brady Tkachuk is out with an upper body injury. None of the games in the NHL tonight. Some notables also at 7 o'clock. Washington in Boston to take on the Bruins. Alexander Ovechkin just 5 goals away from passing Wayne Gretzky on the all-time goals list. 8 p.m., the Blues host Detroit, and then 10:30, the Kings host Winnipeg. Over to the NFL owners' meetings down in Florida. Notably, no news on the state of the tush push. It has been tabled to a future meeting. The Lions' proposal for reseeding the playoffs based on the records has also been tabled to a later date, though we did get some rule changes, namely with overtime, as will more closely resemble the postseason overtime, as both teams will get a chance to possess the ball, though the overtime period will still remain 10 minutes. And then the kickoffs. Touchback's now going to go to the 35-yard line, and first down measurements will switch from the chain gang to camera-based technology for the upcoming season. The chain gang, though, is going to stay as backups. And then the Cowboys owner, Jerry Jones, reportedly offered edge rusher Micah Parsons a contract that would make him the highest-paid non-quarterback in the league. The kicker is, all of this was done without Parsons' agent, David Malgetta, and it has not been accepted, and Parsons will not accept the contract until his agent is involved. And then the Bisons, they are in action tonight. They are on the road for a 6-game series against the Memphis Redbirds. Tonight's matchup will get going just after 7:45, and that can be heard on our sister station, the Bet 1520. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Raisin Bran? You got to put Raisin Bran up there. Everybody knows it.
It's Mike Schopp.
Listen, get your own stupid old dying person team and choose your own cereals.
And the Bulldog.
I shall unleash my fury upon you like the crashing of 1,000 waves.
That cereal is soggy. You reach into the fridge for the milk and open the lid on the milk to pour it in there, and that crap is already soggy.
I am untethered and my rage knows no bounds.
That's a problem for a cereal. I
Huge
think.
problem.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog on WGR Sports Radio 550.
First day back, I'm peppering Bulldog with fantasy takes.
It's okay. You've got me searching my phone.
For the escape hatch.
No, I don't think I saved it.
Is there a trap door?
I got a... do I want to say who this... I got a text message from a former Sabre player.
Donald Audette.
Who has worked in media for a while now, asking me for advice about rookie tight ends.
Randy Moeller.
In a dynasty draft.
Okay. Gary Galley.
Like the top two guys. Like how big of a split? Like I'm thinking about the Penn State kid.
Tyler Warren.
Okay. And like how closely, like should I wait for the second guy?
Colston Loveland.
Yes. How much separation do you think there will be?
Not as much.
And it's one of these messages that I'm looking at thinking, well, I mean, the name of the person is showing up on my phone, so I know who this person is.
Jocelyn Tebow.
And they know me. I'm comfortable with them having my number. I'm not at all surprised that they have my number, but I am rather stunned that they are asking me this question.
Was it April Fool's?
While I am in Puerto Rico. No, it was not April Fool's. It was midweek last week. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Craig Rivet was asking me for fantasy football advice.
I was going to say Craig Rivet.
Craig Rivet. And I'm like, I didn't say anything about why are you asking me or not my area. Do you know this isn't Mike Schopp's number? Nothing like that. I just texted back, I'd wait until the wraparound. I think, but it's probably close.
You wait to the turn?
Yeah, I'd wait. Like he's 6 overall maybe or something, and he
laid out for you.
He laid out the scenario.
Picks.
I don't have it memorized because there was a blender and rum and fruit. But anyway, I did respond. Wait for Loveland is what I said.
Don't give yourself any guff, because I would not have it memorized either without the blender.
Right.
How many other ex-Sabres are in media? Rob and Marty. But, like, those guys I'd mentioned are, I don't know about Tebow. The other guys I mentioned are all in, could have been them.
They are, yeah.
Right? Andrew Peters.
Is
that media?
Yeah. Well, that's right. Like he and Craig have been doing that podcast since they left the station.
Jerry Ostrowski. That's Bill's. That's a podcast.
Right.
Podcast count?
Yes. I'm counting podcasts.
Who else? Anybody speaking French out there? Or Czech? Is Dom in media?
Dom is active on social media.
Yes.
On some very righteous causes, mostly involving Russia and the Ukraine, at least righteous in my opinion. But I don't believe he has a media gig.
Okay.
So I'm not sure. I'm not sure who else might qualify.
How about Don Edwards?
I sat with Don Edwards at some Sabre wine event.
Me too.
We were together for that.
Oh, that was you?
I'm guessing that was probably a thing we were together at.
There where John Davidson got up and just had ideas?
In my head.
That night?
If it's the same night that we interviewed Ron McLean in person.
Okay,
that's the night I'm thinking of.
Maybe.
We had Ron in a tuxedo.
In a headlock? That's how it felt.
Prior to some Sabres wine event or something. I don't know. Anyway.
Canceled season, they had a night down there in the atrium. With a stage and lots of alumni. Was that?
Yeah, probably that.
Okay, that's 20 years ago.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we might be tapped out on that. But anyway, yeah.
I love that you're getting fantasy questions.
I had honestly forgot.
You've arrived.
I really forgot about that happened until you asked me this. And it had to be a tight end specific question, too, I think.
I know.
In order for you to remember that I got this text while I was on vacation from a former Sabre
Because I was talking about tight ends.
Right, exactly. If you would ask me something about a receiver-centric fantasy question, I'll bet the same wire wouldn't have tripped in my head. The fact that it was tight ends,
I love
that
that
got me all the way there.
You've arrived. I mean, I love that you're getting that kind of...
Yeah.
You have that credibility. It's because that team you drafted was so good.
And I'm so full of fresh vacation stories.
Well...
Like Craig Revay texting me a question about rookie tight ends is really a vacation story. I did mention rum in a blender and fruit. So, I mean, I think I touched some of the vitals. Anyway, what's up?
I don't know.
How are you?
I'm all right.
What's going on here?
I don't know. It's April Fool's Day.
I heard it snowed last week.
I'm sure it did. Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah.
I was here. I'm sure it did. One warm day, I'm in here in shorts. The next day, no. It's not time for shorts. No. But, yes, I'm sure it did.
85 and sunny every day.
Down there.
Down there, yeah. It's pretty good.
Over.
Pretty great. Yeah. Don't I know it? Over. Don't I know it?
One thing that happened last week is that Sneaky Joe joined for Reverse AFC Power Rankings. I don't know if you've been following sports on your trip, but we're going to find out.
I have been following sports, and I did have an inkling at some point Tuesday morning. Boy, it would be a nice surprise for my friends back there in cold, chilly, snowy Buffalo if I know Reverse AFC Power Rankings is a staple. I thought maybe I should call. And joined, and then it was like 4:00 before I noticed again, and I had been drinking out of a pineapple.
That's the thing. Like I did that from the Maui Aquarium, but it was like 10 in the morning.
Yeah.
So I was in no trouble.
Yeah, this was not ideal timing for me. No, it didn't really work out.
No, I did that from Hawaii, and that was easy. Well, let's go. Let's find out where you're at on some of these teams. The coaches are together for the picture, the owners meeting, some rules, stuff. It's time for Reverse AFC Power Rankings, powered by Empire Electric. Your residential neighborhood electrician. Visit EmpireElectricians.com.
I think I want to say Cleveland just because of the Kirk Cousins news that's circulating today.
What is that? That they might get Kirk Cousins?
Yeah, I think I saw a Diana Rossini tweet that, like, from what she's hearing, she wouldn't be surprised if Kirk Cousins ended up in Cleveland.
Well, who is the likeliest Week 1 starter for them? Would it have to be Pickett because he's actually on the roster? But it's either Pickett or Cousins or Shedeur Sanders?
I think that's pretty much where we're at, yeah.
Which means to me it's probably the first two, one of the first two.
I would bet on Cousins.
Yeah, maybe.
And that's probably going to go horribly for them.
That's an interesting decision they have to make. Well, horribly. What's Pickett? But,
well, not any better, probably worse.
Probably worse. So I think it's a question of what are they? How are they trying to fake it? Like, how are they trying to go get through this year? Because you could just tank and play Kenny Pickett. I mean, he's a first round pick. You could just do that, and your players wouldn't respect you. It might be mutiny, and the fans, maybe it's the same. But you could also say, so what? That happens. So what? Let's just be bad. But then you signed Garrett,
right?
And I think probably they'd want to avoid that.
I agree, which is why I would lean hard into the Cousins idea. That's the best available option. That does not at all equate to me thinking it's a good option, but it's the best remaining option, I think, and I would predict they do it and are probably sorry to some extent. Because what happens there? I think he's good enough that gets them from 3 or 4 wins with Pickett to 7 or 8 wins with Cousins, and they're still looking for a plan at quarterback. Because in this scenario, did they draft Shedeur Sanders? If they do that anyway and they've got him, then okay. Get through your seasons with Kirk Cousins. Let Sanders sit and learn like Patrick Mahomes did, and then you take your chances next year. But if they don't do that and end up somewhere else, I mean, I don't know. the specter of drafting 12th next year without an arsenal of picks to avail yourself of moving up seems not ideal.
I also like them at 16, even not hating Cousins as much as you do. I like them at 16 anyway. I think they're in the worst spot. They'll get Abdul Carter, and hopefully that matters because he plays defensive line, and Myles Garrett hasn't really mattered, and he's the best. Hasn't mattered that much.
Enough
is right. 15.
I think
Jets.
Whoa!
Just got it in.
What happened while I was gone?
Just got it in.
Where were the Jets last week?
14.
Wow. All right. I like where they're living. Fine. Good. I don't even want to talk about them. I just want to take this present you've given us and run. I want to enjoy it in the fresh.
You hate the Jets.
40-degree sunshine.
14.
I'm going to say Tennessee.
Okay. There is the possibility that Tennessee drafts Cam Ward at the number 1 pick, which they probably will do, and he's good.
Mm-hmm. That is very possible.
If he's not good, like great good, then you're spinning your wheels. But there is the chance that he's great.
I've liked watching him play last year. He certainly caught my attention very early in the year. He's one of the sort of stories of the year early, especially like, oh, look at this Miami quarterback. So I paid a fair amount of attention to that. I'm a little worried that NFL teams are overreacting to his like I'm the guy stuff. Which is fine. Like, I want a quarterback to be like that, but when it becomes like such a prominent part of the narrative, teams are just going to love this guy. I just get little, like, you know, 'cause he sounds great and he sounds the part and he looks the part, but, like, can he actually do it? Can he process quickly enough to make that work? I mean, I don't know. I think a lot, like Will Levis, I'll bet, is alpha dog. I'm going to do it. I'm the guy. Like, great. Can you play? No? Tough one.
They need to move him.
So I'm a little worried about Ward because I feel like the interview stuff has, like, really pushed him up, I think. Not that he wasn't already in, you know, a candidate to be the number one pick before the combine and all the stuff started happening, but I just feel like it just reads a little too much. I think well, we'll see. McCarthy never played last year. I felt like McCarthy was this last year, where, like, so many draft people were saying as the process was, wait until teams get in a room with this guy.
Yeah.
And buyer beware. I want that to be a part, but if that really pushes you up, that would worry me.
They need to move Levis. It's weird if he's still there. He's still young. Maybe somebody would make, like, a Lance offer for him. Fourth, Dallas gave up a fourth for Lance, something like that. Fifth, just to have a different, maybe more experienced backup. I think I'd want to do that.
Is the thought at this point that Ward is going to would play right away?
I would think.
Okay.
Otherwise,
he's played a lot.
101.
It's not like he's not one of these guys that just, he's not Anthony Richardson. Like, he had a
Right.
long college career, a lot of starts.
I would think. That's what I'd want for them. 13.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I guess it's done.
They can't get their story straight. You've got the owner talking. You've got, what did Tomlin say? Like, I wouldn't say he's plan A or something yesterday about Rodgers, and the owner today was like, yeah, soon, but not. We're not going to wait forever. Just like the Steelers never have the Bills always kind of in the McDermott years. They always have one message. Like, the Bills are they've gotten good at having one message. Allen fits into that. Bean, all of them, and Pagula never talks. So you've got one message. Pittsburgh, they're all just such big characters. You know, the coordinators have had, like, spats in the past where they just sort of, like, say something. And for as good as Tomlin might be, I guess you got to say he's good. The Steelers do not have that. They all just kind of speak for themselves, the Steelers. And Rodgers will help that for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's going to say what he thinks. 12. I got to go Patriots. The Patriots have been getting too much credit.
I was going to go Raiders.
Oh, right. Forgot about the Raiders.
Don't forget about the Raiders.
I might still say Patriots. I'm liking the Raiders right now. They have the... tell your friend.
What do you have to say about that?
They have the number one dynasty asset in the league in tight end premium formats.
Well, how many expected points does that add up to? Sorry.
Expected points. Enough.
I needed something.
Enough to make him number one.
I didn't want to go with expected goals. It wouldn't really fit.
Expected fantasy points? That's the thing.
Yeah.
Scott Barrett would have an answer for you. Right. I still will say New England because there's still a lot to do. And I think the Raiders with Geno Smith might be good. Pete Carroll, Chip Kelly, Bowers, Ashton Genty, Emeka Ibuka,
Diggs, Drake May,
New England,
Mike Vrabel. Yeah, I'm just pushing back.
Yeah,
that happened last week while I was away.
Diggs happened. Yep.
You had a Diggs. Did you have a Diggs day? I was hoping you had
Not
a Diggs
really.
day. When I saw the news of it, well, I'm glad that happened. Well,
no, that was Tuesday night, I think, and then Wednesday, Sal and I were at Roswell Park.
Okay,
and we did different things. A little bit of Diggs. So no. All right.
Well, anyway, I would still say Raiders.
I'm on New England.
I'm on New England.
New England at 12. 11.
I have an idea. Raiders.
Okay. 10.
Jacksonville.
Indianapolis. Indianapolis to me sounds like they don't know what they're doing, or what they want to do. Maybe that's even worse. And you mix in the owner of the Colts, like, just disaster. It has the potential to be a disaster. They've got Richardson, who was so raw, and I think he started 15 games in 2 years, and it's like, nope, Daniel Jones. They're just done. What kind of process is that?
Horrible. I don't know. The kid might not be able to play, but I would not want to give it up after what we've seen and what he had, really what he showed up with to begin with. It's just not a lot. Cam Ward, not a lot of game time. Someone who clearly doesn't know not to tap out during a drive when you're the starting quarterback of an NFL team or a little loop team. Anyway, I'm with you on Colts.
Just stay down next time.
Right.
All he had to do was just stay down if he wasn't right. One play. Whatever.
Right.
And nobody questions you.
Right.
Injuries happen. 9.
I can go with Jacksonville here.
Okay. 8. Miami.
I can get there. I definitely don't like them more than any of the teams left, but there's like a group of maybe 2 or 3 teams here that I could pretty much fit inside a hula hoop.
Yep. 7.
Denver.
Houston.
Chargers. Sorry, I don't get to pick.
Denver or
muddy the waters
Houston?
here.
Who would you rather be? Well, that's actually kind of an interesting pair. Denver has Sean Payton. Maybe you like Knicks. Houston has C.J. Stroud. And maybe you like DeMeco Ryans. It's kind of an interesting pair. Houston has Collins. Denver does not. Denver does not have, I'll go Denver here. Denver does not have anybody at a skill position that I care about. That's going to change in a month. Because they'll draft a running back in the first round. Maybe there'll be another receiver. Sutton is okay. Houston has more that I like. And they don't play in the AFC West.
That's helpful, right?
All right.
Yeah, they get to 10 wins. They have a real look at the division every year for now anyway.
Yep.
Going into this year, that's all that matters.
6.
Denver.
Denver 7.
Oh, Denver was 7. Sorry.
Yeah.
Who are we? Then I'm going to say Houston now.
I'm in a Chargers mood today for the 6. Chargers. I'm feeling Houston a little bit. I talked myself into Houston a little bit there.
Are you staying with Houston? I was Houston originally.
Okay.
Houston? Okay. That's it then. No game. 5. Chargers for me.
Sure.
4.
Bengals.
I'm thinking about it. All right. Can't do it. I want to do it. Can't do it. 3, Bills. Just can't put them above Cincinnati. Wanted to. It just doesn't seem like a good argument is waiting there. It would really be strained. Why would you pick the Bengals ahead of the Bills or behind in this case? Because Burrow, Chase Higgins. Next question. I've got a scary offense. And do the Bills have a scary offense? They have a scary quarterback. They don't have a scary offense. Who knows if their running back's ever coming home? See? So it's a little bit forced. Bills for me at 3.
Kind of like I would be arguing for the Ravens here instead of the Bills. Let's
hear it.
Maybe similar. I don't know. What do we got? They re-signed their tackle. What has Baltimore done? Extended the coach? Great. I don't know.
Fair.
I love Baltimore's high-end talent, though. They're the kings of the offseason to me. They always look really good on paper. They're good in the regular season, too.
Sure.
So I'll go Buffalo here.
Way more good players? Is that the bottom line?
Yeah.
2, Chiefs. Joe showed up last week with his Kevin Cole charts. And it's the Chiefs have you want expected fantasy points? How about the Chiefs have the most expected departures or the worst offseason by player movement was Kansas City in the league. You're Baltimore. I'm Kansas City.
Kansas City's like the opposite of Baltimore for me. Like the history gets me there, but I can't stand the roster.
2, Chiefs, Ravens 1. That's it? It is written?
But did you see Xavier Worthy's garage?
I did not. I did not see Xavier Worthy's garage. What is that?
I think it's always a really good sign when a guy, 1 year into his rookie contract, builds $1 million garage to house all the custom cars he plans to collect over his NFL career. I did happen to catch that on social media at some point while I was away.
Look at you.
Don't ask me
I
the
missed
day.
it.
Hook 'em horns.
Yeah.
They had a Lamborghini dealership right off campus.
Right.
That doesn't help. Okay. Ryan Fowler, Draft Network, yesterday said, don't worry about Coleman versus Worthy, and he'd take 100 times out of 100,
I heard
Keon
this.
Coleman over Tet McMillan.
Yeah, I did hear this.
Wow. That was WOWOW is what I just did.
You know, that's why it's good. He was on the show yesterday. That's why it's good when you, Zach, this is a compliment for you that could have been delivered off the air. When you turn that around as quickly as you did and use it coming into the next segment. I didn't hear the interview, but I heard the clip right afterward. And I thought, well, all right, when did this happen? Oh, yesterday.
Yeah, 10 minutes earlier.
Yeah, good.
Good stuff. All right. 803-0550 if you want to call in. We get some draft stuff. The rule changes. Or, to whatever extent there were rule changes. But that's what has been one of the big topics at the owners' meetings. We'll do some of that. Hit on the tush push, which is not going away for now. Sal Capaccio from West Palm Beach, scheduled at or around 4. Roger Goodell is happening like in a few minutes, and Sal wants to be there for that. So we'll see about the exact timing. Carlin Hartman, associate head coach, University of Florida men's basketball. Parentheses, Grand Island, New York. 4:30, we'll talk to Carlin as his team is headed to the Final Four. The Sabres are in Ottawa, pregame at 6. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. Phone lines open, WGR.
We know you can't hear every moment of One Bills live, but you don't have to miss any moments either. Rewind up to
Versatile player that, he can really rush and cover. He really changed the dynamics of a lot of things that we were able to do, especially in some rush situations. He's a great mentor for a lot of those younger players that we had, Jared Verse, Byron Young. He plays the game the right way. He'll fit in perfectly with a great organization and team like the Bills.
Sean McVay. I think my favorite thing about the owners' meetings with having Sal there for us is just like how he can go talk to any coach. Ask any question of any coach. AFC yesterday, NFC today. That's Rams coach Sean McVay on Michael Hoyt. Bills signing this offseason. He'll miss the first 6 games with a suspension, as will fellow free agent ad Larry Ogunjobi. Bulldog is back. Getting speeding tickets?
I did not. Get any.
You think about whether you would pay them?
Yeah, I did.
If you did
actually,
get one?
In fact, at one point, while aggressively accelerating and speeding on a highway for a few brief moments, I thought, just add another one to the list here if I get nabbed. But yeah, no, it was.
Is it maybe under U.S. jurisdiction though? I'm not sure it would be the same as like getting a speeding ticket in Spain.
I don't know, but the rental car was in my name, and that did not come back to dent me.
They let you rent a car.
Different company though, but so I don't know.
So you did follow some sports. You followed the Sabres. You watched the Sabres like you were here.
I did. The way the schedule, Sunday afternoon. The Winnipeg game that was like 2 Sundays ago now, Sunday before last, just happened in a dead area of the day. My wife and I had checked into this Airbnb that we'd all rented with her parents and her brother, and our kids were coming. But we were the first ones there. And we had from like 2 in the afternoon until 6 to kill. Perfect for us. It just worked out great. So, I did that, and then the nighttime games were like it was kind of shut it down.
Yeah, you're done for the night by then.
Yeah, you're up early, beach or pool or whatever you're doing in Puerto Rico or golfing, which went horribly, by the way. It was beautiful, but I mean, I just just got swallowed whole by water on almost every single hole.
Not a issue at Delaware.
No,
really.
Yeah, no, not really at all. So yeah, anyway, it just worked well. And something about watching them, regardless of where they're, how the year's gone and how you're feeling about the season, something about watching them when you're in a setting like that just works for me. I don't know why. I'm not bragging. I don't feel like a super dedicated fan. I just like being in touch with our sports teams. If they're playing and I'm, 5,000 or whatever, however many, it's not that far, but still, I'm a 5 hour.
You're out of the country.
I'm a 5 hour plane ride away. I'll just leave it at that. Great. Like I want to watch. I feel more compelled to watch than if I were sitting in my living room, which I do plenty of anyway. So yeah, I watched all the games.
Did you see what Rafael Devers is up to?
I saw 10 strikeouts in the first 3 games, which had never been done. And I think there's been a bunch more since.
He's 0 for 19 with 15 strikeouts so far this season.
Yeah.
He's not a pitcher.
Yeah, that's going well.
Yeah,
he's a DH now. He's a designated hitter now.
Yes.
So of course the questions about whether he's distracted by not playing in the field and hasn't adjusted to only batting. If that's still even a conversation that gets had in baseball circles, I'm imagining is happening.
They don't play tonight. Red Sox and Orioles. The beginning of the season, now they just take those breaks in the middle of series sometimes. So they're not playing tonight.
Right, because they played a day game yesterday, I'm pretty sure.
Yep. No day games today in baseball. Well, you missed a week plus a day on either end. I think the most interesting Bills thing right now is Cook. Because that, not exactly, but it'll make the point for me. It kind of escalated.
Oh, I think so.
The last couple of days.
I think how Brandon Beane spoke about it, and I don't know if I have all of the information, but I feel like what I heard and what I read from Brandon Beane is okay.
Yep.
Congratulations on your social media campaign, but this isn't happening right now, and he does not sound like eager to sit down again and further discuss at this point. Like the message seemed very clear. We're not aligned on what our desires are, and we're going to move on to other things. because we're just wasting time at this point, which, is not the sternest of rebukes, but it's a message, I think.
Well, he again had the line about how he won't negotiate in public. So, I think this is good. No numbers. He might have been thinking it. He might be thinking it all the time, but he might be thinking like, no way in hell, $15 million a year. But he doesn't say that.
Right.
It's good that he doesn't say that.
I suppose.
But he did say, right now we're on to the draft. So this is closed for the time being. And I would think that means until at least when the draft is over, which is about a month. And don't forget, guys, we can get back to this next year.
Right.
Not next month, although he might have said that too. But at the one bite, he's like, we can get to this next year. So he's calling Cook's bluff. You want $15 million a year? That's a no. And we'll see you here when it's mandatory. And if we don't, you'll be fined.
Right.
There was, for me, an update on that makes it even more interesting. And that's this, that it was, I talked to Sal on Friday and again yesterday. And on Friday, and I didn't know this, I'm not dinging Sal. Like he knows so much about like the details of contracts and the CBA and everything. He said, no matter who you are, you get a $40,000 a day fine. So if he doesn't show up, I'm not sure if that's the minicamp part too, but at least training camp, it costs James Cook $40,000 a day. Or maybe, do they even get paid then? I don't know when it is, but that's the number. Mm-hmm. But Sal found out and updated this yesterday to say that if you're on your rookie deal,
I saw something about that. Yeah.
Can waive the fines, and they can't if you're not. So it could be that Cook sits out for whatever it is and accumulates fines, and then a deal is made, and the Bills just say, all right, don't worry about it.
They're all forgiven, right.
Which I think would make it logically more likely that he would stay away because he can get out of it in negotiations. And he can't if he's not on his rookie contract. If you can't get out of $40,000 a day, and what is he making? A couple.
Do they need to – I think his cap number's 5 this year. I don't know what that means as far as like real cash once the paychecks start coming in the regular season. Do they need to come to a new contract in order to forgive those fines, or can they just forgive them? Like, in other words, if he misses mandatory minicamp in the first 5 days of training camp and is fined for all of that, but never gets a new contract, I shouldn't be asking a question that neither of us are going to be equipped to answer definitively. I wonder if that opportunity to waive that, is that independent of a new contract?
I don't know. He does make 5.2.
Okay.
It's more than I thought.
Yeah. But still, it definitely, to me, over the weekend, I don't know, I think Bean spoke on Sunday, I think is why Sal was already at these meetings on Sunday. And I don't think there's any question that the Bills' stance is pretty clear. And we'll see. I have not noticed if there's been any reaction to that from Cook. I've not seen any. Myself, I think I've been paying attention the last 36 hours or so as I'm sort of readapting here. But whether he likes it or not, the Bills are, at least for now, going to run the race and use the things that they have at their disposal. Chiefly, the player is under contract for another year. That is a big one. They've also got the franchise tag next offseason in their arsenal if they so choose. And I respect the hell out of them not wanting to negotiate off of last year on Cook. I said it all along. I've said it numerous times. It's not like some novel point. But, boy, negotiating off a 16-touchdown year when he had 2 the previous year would just not be a place that you want to be. So I think, you get that year, you do something close to that again this year, then, maybe their equation and the math changes on their end. But I've never wanted them to be in the business of paying running backs $10 million, let alone $15 million. And I think Cook is excellent and mattered a lot to their offense, but I don't think it mattered in a raise of 3 times what he was making to that extent. So I recognize without them having anything else that's really provably fantastic, skills-wise on their team. You've got guys you should be hoping for, Kincaid, Coleman, of course. Shakir is what he is. Like, risking something with Cook could be dangerous, but I respect them doing it. I would not have been happy watching him play for anything between $10 or $15 million a year, honestly.
Which we still might.
We still might. That's right. Because I have no idea where they come in. But, I think we can all comfortably assume it's below $15 million at the very least.
Yes, and I said yesterday a few times, I haven't wanted to assume that Cook was like in a serious place about it, that the Bills would and he would be like apart. It's just Twitter, right? So what was it really? But now I do want to assume that. Now I think, okay, well, whatever he really wants, the Bills are taking that seriously, and it's just a no at this point. I'm excited about this because, it's one of these where I don't happen to think it's like a big loss if he isn't around, and this is a long way from being at that point. But it's one where I'd kind of want to find out. I don't wish him an injury or anything like that. I just kind of want to know, how is their offense different? It might be different. It might be better because they might not think they can run the ball as well, and I want that. I want the Bills to be at that like they used to be in that way. So I kind of want to see it through. And the draft is so rich at running back that maybe it's true anyway, but I think that's a position of need now.
Well, it's certainly, you can argue that it is. If you feel like you got to make plans to not have Cook, then it absolutely is. And that's why now I think that Bean has spoken and the organization's opinion on the matter is on the record, that they're not talking right now anymore, not interested in talking until maybe after the draft, if at all. We'll see. But it's basically their position. We're leaving it. We're not getting anywhere, and that's it. So we moved on to guys that we thought we could get stuff done with, and they did. They signed every one of them except for Cook. So with the draft coming up now in 23 days from today, right? April 24th, this first round. And it's a rich draft in running backs.
That's right.
Holy cow. If they do something as soon as Friday, like round 3, even round 4, where they picked Ray Davis last year, I think that would be a sign. Whether or not they think he's coming or not, they might want to just avail themselves of a guy that in a rich year they can just have here and be ready to plug and play him. If Cook, A, doesn't show up, B, they need him next year as like a timeshare with Davis and Ty Johnson or whatever.
Yeah, position of need really depends on Cook, but it's whatever it is plus that everybody loves the running backs this year. And there are going to be, it sounds like, a number of running backs that get picked, not in the first round, maybe not even in the second round, that it sounds like will show up at teams' camps and just be the best running back on the roster. Maybe that would be this one. Maybe that's saying a lot. But I think that's going to happen in a number of, camps around the league. It sounds like these guys are that good. So let's see the Bills. I mean, I've always thought Cook to be good, not great. Let's see them do that with or without him. And what it looks like, if they draft one of these guys, there's 20 that everybody is so hot for. Sal Capaccio from the owners' meetings at 4. Carlin Hartman, Western New York's own, on the bench for Florida, headed to the Final Four this weekend in San Antonio. We'll talk to him next hour as well. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
More of
Welcome back. We'll talk to Sal in about 12 minutes from Florida. Owners meetings. Today is it. He'll be back, tonight even, but nothing more tomorrow from these meetings. They got it all in, apparently. AJ is with us. Hello, AJ.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Good, thank you.
I was just calling because I was listening to the conversation about James Cook and the contract, and I'm just genuinely curious, why is it that, you guys are so, frustrated with possibly paying him $10 to $15 million when just looking around or just taking a, general view of our offense, the second best player on our offense is James Cook, and we're paying Josh Palmer $13 million. We're paying Khalil Shakir $15 million. And then you look at the Giants, who obviously never paid Saquon, and then this offseason they go and pay Darius Slayton, the same exact contract they could have just offered Saquon. To me, it's like you just got to look at the offense and say, he's our second best player. Why not pay him? I get being worried about reaching that $15 million mark, but in my opinion, I think that he's deserving of the contract and that we should look to pay him because we're paying Josh Palmer $13 million, and I don't see anyone being frustrated with that. I don't see anyone being frustrated with the fact we're paying Dawson Knox like $14 million. So,
well, if you listen for long enough, you will hear that.
There might be some frustration out there regarding that. It really, like AJ, I like the way you're thinking. The way you build your team and who's most valuable on it. I just ran it down maybe as you were calling. There is an argument to be made. It just really is about the marketplace and positional value. And we had an offseason last year where that shifted, and maybe it's continuing to shift some. But I don't know, man. I just think, for me anyway, I don't think you need to pay running backs that much money. I think they're more replaceable. They're easier to find than receivers are. And so that's the way the market works. I've never thought it was the fairest thing in the world. Running back is a hard-hitting, high-collision, low career span position in the sport. But it is replaceable. There are more guys available that can get to the level you need to make your offense work. And that's really the beginning and the end of it for me. I'd like at some point for the Bills to have the flexibility to pivot to paying a receiver the going market rate for a top guy should they need to pay it. I'm not interested in getting to the top of the running back market. I just think you can get comparable production for way less. And I think James Cook on a rookie contract is fantastic. James Cook on a second contract, I just think you're going to have trouble living up to it.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I don't think Palmer and Shakir or certainly Knox are great deals, but that's what you have. And I like that you brought up Barkley because I just refuse to believe the New York Giants would have been any good at all having Saquon Barkley on the team for whatever the dollar amount was, just like they weren't before he left. It's just like he's a good example of what it matters to a team to have a top running back. No one ever thought he didn't deserve to be considered, top tier. He goes from one of the worst teams in the league, which was terrible with him on it, to one of the best, which was great with him on it. And, they went to the Super Bowl with Kenneth Gainwell 2 years prior, the Eagles. There's just countless examples of running backs, this team to that team, and it's pretty easy often, if not almost always, to think, I'm not sure it really changed anything for that team. Even with, he had 2,000 yards. But how many games did the Giants win if Barkley, same player, is on the Giants? One more? It wouldn't have mattered at all. So I feel like the Giants look bad for that, but they really shouldn't. They should look bad for a lot of other things.
They look bad because of the optics of having it all played out, on HBO with the GM saying what he said about a $40 million quarterback and a $15 million running back, whatever the numbers were at the time anyway. So I think it all just sort of snowballs to the point where I think you can get caught up in it, and this can happen within the league where, trends just sort of get away from you, and, all right, well, that's the going rate for a top-level running back. Well, I got to do it. I don't know. I still would want to slow down on it, and I'm not upset at all with the Bills' posture in this situation.
Thank you, AJ. Sal, coming up. Good thing the Giants beat Indianapolis, by the way, in Week 17. So they have to sign Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston instead of just drafting the quarterback they want. That worked out. Giants just always it never fails to delight the Giants. All right, Sal after the update here on WGR.
Call or text WG.
And they are on the road in Ottawa to take on the Senators pregame at 6 for a 7 p.m. puck drop. James Reimer appears set to get the start in net. Josh Norris and Jordan Greenway appear to be out tonight, while for Ottawa, we do know that Brady Tkachuk is out with an upper body injury. 9 of the games across the NHL, some notables. At 7, Washington in Boston to take on the Bruins. Alex Ovechkin just 5 goals away from passing Wayne Gretzky as the all-time goal leader. 8 p.m., Blues host Detroit, and then at 10:30, the Kings host Winnipeg. Down in Florida, the NFL owners' meetings continued underway this morning, and voting got underway. Notably, no news yet on the state of the tush push. It has been tabled to a future meeting. That, along with the Lions' proposal for reseeding the playoffs based on records, again, that has also been tabled. We do, though, have some rule changes, notably with overtime, as both teams will now possess the ball. The period will remain at 10 minutes, and touchbacks going back to the 35-yard line. We'll get more on everything down in Florida as Sal Capaccio joins the show next. And the Bisons, they are in action. They begin a 6-game road series against the Memphis Redbirds. Tonight's matchup will get going just after 7:45, and that can be heard on our sister station, the Bet 1520. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Filling up right behind the Bills bench right now with their flags and their hey, 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 let's go Buffalo chant.
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
Many, I'm sure, wonder which conference's coaches are the better conversationalists, the AFC or the NFC. And I can't think of anyone I'd rather ask that of than our Sal Capaccio, who has spent the last 2 days chatting up all 32. I don't know, you probably didn't get to all of them, but how many coaches did you maybe get to?
Maybe 4 or 5 actually sticking a microphone in. I walked around almost every table, but the way it works is there's so many media of that local media contingent, and there's not like a speaker at the table, so you got to really get in to hear what they're saying if you want to do that. I only did that when I needed to really get in on, Jim Harbaugh, to ask him about Bosa and Hoyt, something like that. Dan Quinn, ask him about Derek Forrest. I think I popped in on Brian Dable, because he's Brian Dable. Just wanted to hear him for a few minutes. But that's it was even tighter this year too. They moved it like out of the actual hotel, where in a ballroom setting, to a big kind of mobile media tent area that they set up, and it was a little tighter, so it was tougher to navigate too.
And do all the coaches go at once? So you got to kind of pick your spot there, and right. So it's all happening simultaneously, right?
Yeah, AFC coaches traditionally 7:45 to 8:30. They say on Monday. NFC 7:45 to 8:30 on Tuesday, and they call it the coaches breakfast because there literally is breakfast for the media, and coaches that they want from the media gets breakfast and hangs out, and then when the coaches come to the table, you're there. You represent the table. Most people do it in the other room or whatever, but yes, it's all going at once. So if you'll see, what you see a lot of is the national people just go from table to table to table and ask maybe 1 or 2 of the same questions that they're trying to do a story on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to meet a certain standard. You can't just go to any coach and ask anything. Like you've got the hook there where you've got players that these people have coached that have come to the Bills. I'm sure you don't get looks for that. I mean, that's reasonable.
Right.
But to ask just anything, there's a pecking order, I'm sure, for these. So you're good not to do that. Well, we talked about the tush push a lot yesterday and tabled. So the rule isn't changing. What happens next?
So they'll discuss it more in May. There's another owners meeting in May. It's not quite like this. This is the annual league meetings where you do a lot of this stuff. But there is more stuff going on in May. It's a lot less and low-key, I guess. And there is a chance that they could do something there. I don't get the sense they will. I think what's going to happen here, guys, is you're going to have everyone who's involved here have a little bit more discussion, bounce some ideas as the season goes on, watch how it plays out. I don't think you're going to see any changes this year, and then see where it goes next year. Maybe there's more data about the injury stuff. I think that's something that people want to see, and then maybe it gets brought up again. But in the meantime, you'll probably, from what I understand, the way I understand it from talking to people today, it could also be language-based, which is maybe there's some tweaks to how it is written. For example, like immediately push the guy, right? Like that word, that's a subjective word. So what are we doing that? Do the Bills immediately push Josh Allen when he steps to the left? So I think there's some ambiguity here on how maybe a lot of people are looking at things. I do know that it was brought up today that, and I love this because it's something I've been saying. The NFL used to have a rule against this. It was aiding the runner.
Right.
They used to have a rule against pushing and pulling. And even Rich McKay said today that was the rule until 2004, but the reason why they got rid of it was because it was too tough for officials, he said, to discern kind of what was happening downfield when there were big piles. Like you see a lot of that going on today. So they got rid of it completely, which is actually why the tush push started in the first place, because there was no rule on the books against it. And there was someone in the room who suggested they go back to that rule and putting it on the books.
Yeah, because I think what we've seen really, I'm interested to learn that rule change happened that long ago, because I feel like it has not. It didn't result in much of a change to the way the game has looked to me for most of those years until the Eagles started doing this with the quarterback sneak. And then I feel like you started to see the scrums downfield where the linemen come running and it's like, okay, we can get some extra yards here because they're not going to blow this dead. And I just... That's as big of a problem as I think the tush push is in and of itself to me. And I think the injury risk is the same, or at least similar, that McDermott's talking about, even though there's still no data on it. Like, it's a scrum of dudes all piling into one another. I don't know, man. I think downfield is as big of a problem to me as it is at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, and that was brought up, like all the points that you are mentioning in some capacity, in some way. Obviously, the difference is when you're downfield, someone's literally running into a pile and people are standing still and you're drilling them. Sean McDermott's contention, the way I understand it, guys, is, yes, I can't give you the data because it's a small sample size and they haven't really done all of that data. But his data, to me, is more anecdotal, which is this is not just the quarterback. This is the center. You have Jason Kelsey is on record, the guy who's the center for the team that's most notably known for this, saying he hated it because of what it did to his body. Deion Dawkins was on radio last week saying it's terrible for him the way he has to block it and how these guys get low on their legs and dive at their legs. Like, I think McDermott's taking everything into account, including obviously his quarterback, who, by the way, did hurt his hand at the end of the AFC Championship game, which wasn't made too much about, but we even talked to him about it at the end of the season, and he even to the point where he said he didn't have to have surgery on it, but he got it checked out a little bit.
So for now, we wait on that one until at least May. Okay. Sal Capaccio on the her hotline from the owners' meetings, West Palm Beach, Florida. We did have a couple other things today, including another change to the overtime rules. Overtimes and kickoffs cannot sit still. We're moving the kickoff touchback line again, and we're moving the overtime goalposts, so to speak, here again. Your thoughts on either or both of these changes?
We'll start with overtime. I thought it was interesting, the admission from McKay today, Rich McKay, who said that, the mistake that they made, I think he used the word mistake, I have to go back and think of the exact word, was that they, when they went to overtime, the sudden death, that, they didn't get out of sudden death quicker or something like that. Like they kept sudden death in too long or something along those lines. And that caused them to have to start kind of changing more rapidly here with the overtime and the way they've done it. And now they're doing it more in line with the way the way the playoffs are. The regular season will be just like the playoffs. If you get the kick and you score a touchdown, the other team will now have a chance to score a touchdown. It doesn't end. However, it was made clear it's 10 minutes. There was talk about making this a 15-minute overtime because if one team goes down and scores a touchdown and there's a minute and a half left, well, tough break. You got a minute and a half. If they score it with no time left and you take up the whole time, guess what? They win. That's just the way it's got to be. So there was discussion of that. And then, the kickoff, you guys know, I've been saying it since the Combine. I mean, this was percolating since the Combine. I was told at the Combine this is going to happen, even though it wasn't on the docket yet, and then suddenly it was. There was a lot of support to get the kickoff to the 35-yard line. I talked with Darren Rizzi today. He's the special teams coach who's actually at the forefront of this with the competition committee. And he said it's not even just the kickoff. Okay, there's a lot of stuff there we know about the kickoff and wanting more returns and all those kinds of things. He said because the kickoff last year moved up, there were actually fewer punts and they don't want as many punts because they're not as exciting. They want to get the game moving. And you think about it, that makes sense because if you're starting better field position, you're probably going to punt a little bit less at the end of the drive. So kind of it's twofold. He actually gave me numbers that I'm going to write about this week and go over that. And I did ask him, guys, has there been any talk of just simply moving the kicker back instead of doing it at the 35 with the touchback? He had a really interesting answer. He said yes, but he said there's a thought from some of the cold weather teams that the kickers, if you move them back to the 30, they can all bomb it, but they won't have as much control about landing it in the landing zone, and that's disadvantageous to the colder weather teams who play their games in cold weather later in the season.
A lot of that makes sense, especially the punting less, right? You're closer to midfield when you start, so you get one first down, and maybe you're already to like a 4th and 2 where you would go for it, whereas if you were 10 yards back further still, you still might be inclined to kick it away on 4th and 2. The overtime thing, what I'm mostly wondering about with it staying at 10 minutes is whether or not we'll see ties go up and then we'll have to revisit this again. Because it's very easy to see a scenario where any points, a field goal or a touchdown, takes 5 or 6 minutes, the other team gets the ball back, matches it, right? That's the best they can do, right? And sure, there'll be some strategy. There's 3 minutes to go in overtime, or maybe almost no time left in overtime, and I'm going to settle for a kick that's going to tie it, which means we're going to tie. I just wonder if we'll end up with more ties, because 10 minutes is that's one possession each. I don't want to say at best, but like you could see it happening where each team's only get the ball once, and if you get more ties, that probably won't be ideal.
Well, it's funny because Zach, your producer, said the same thing to me today, and I kind of dismissed it. And maybe I shouldn't be, because I don't think it's any different than now, right? I mean, maybe I'm thinking about it wrong, because it's kind of the same now. If you score, the other team gets a chance if it's a field goal. But you're right. If it's a touchdown, that's what the difference is.
Right.
I guess it would have to matter, like, how many games actually go to overtime anyway. Some do. There's not a lot in the NFL, though, and generally those games wind up ending in some capacity. But you did have a couple games last year that went very late before they almost did have a tie, and I think a couple of walk-offs, or at least close to that in overtime.
I think in this era, you score a touchdown, kick the point to start overtime, I get the touchdown, I'm going for 2. I think most teams are at the point where they would just play to win. Coaches, it's flipped all the way from when we started at this. Now coaches would get criticized for doing the so-called conservative thing. So that would help prevent ties. And maybe these drives are all starting at the 35 now. Right. So they don't take as long.
Yeah, maybe it won't be a concern at all. But that was the first thought I had when I saw that, because I like the idea of everybody getting the ball and having it match the postseason, including the 15 minutes. When I saw it still at 10 minutes, I just thought, could there be a problem there? But maybe not. You're probably right. It's the same as the punting conversation we were just having, right? Like you're more likely to go for it on 4th and 2 from the 48 than you are your 38. Say
they got to get you to that game of the week at 4:25, no matter what. Yeah. These games have to be stopped. And maybe you have that, and then 2 other 4:00 games, one in Arizona and one in Las Vegas.
Sal, how big of a deal is the chain gang things? I've seen a lot of people, just a lot of fans that I follow, like, oh, what a relief, they're going to get it right, But I've still got the guy spotting the ball, right? Yeah. Like, that's not changing. So the scenario that happened to the Bills on the quarterback sneak at the end of the AFC Championship game, or what turned out to be the end of the AFC Championship game for them, that mistake could still happen moving forward, even though you've got this new Hawkeye, whatever it's called, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, honestly, guys, they've been kind of doing this for the most part in some capacity for the last couple of years, which is why you don't see chains come out that often.
Right.
You do see them, but you don't see them that much. Yeah, I think that people, unfortunately, because maybe it's just the way that people are presenting it, a lot of fans are confused thinking that we're going to, like, chips in the balls or something. That's not what they're doing. They're still giving it to an official who's going to spot it. A human is going to do that. And then if they need to, they can use electronics to see if it's over the line or not. But they kind of do that already.
Right.
It's really, and even when there's like a really close one, it seems like that, they're calling down. I mean, there's been a few times, you guys know, there's been a few times where they gave him a first down and said, we were radioed from up top, and it's not a first down. And they have to go back to it, actually.
That's another thing today. The so-called replay assist is expanding to include fouls that were not called on the field. And to me, this is all bad. But I know it's all in the name of get it right. And just the lack of transparency for me with that replay assist was frustrating. And it adds to the frustration. I feel that this point doesn't get made, but I'm guessing most people are going to say, including starting with the league, that this is a good thing.
Yeah, so the other confusing part about this, I think, for fans today has been what can actually happen here, right? And I know that I've tried to explain it to some people because it is a bit confusing when you hear and you see replay assists can help with these particular plays. So here's what they can do. If there is a face mask, a horse collar, tripping, hitting a defenseless player, or roughing or running into the kicker, if it is actually called on the field, there's a flag for it on the field, one of those things. And it's clear and obvious to the someone up top that it did not happen. And we all see the jersey get pulled and the head turns and you think it's a face mask. They throw the face mask. If you can see, it clearly wasn't. They can call down and say, you need to pick that up. That's not actually a flag. What they can't do and what is not happening is no one is telling an official to retroactively throw a flag on something they missed. If you're an obvious face mask that they totally missed, they can't do that. This is only to pick up a flag that wasn't a foul.
All right. I guess the difference is important enough.
That is, because that's where we were last year, right? The missed face mask on Darnold that they couldn't throw a flag on. And then there was a thing on Monday Night Football, or at least maybe it was a playoff game that Buck and Aikman were doing, and their rules guy got almost in a panic because Buck was very definitively pointing out that it appeared as though a flag had been retroactively thrown on a play similar to that, and that's not supposed to be allowed. And the rules guy just was like, and they just moved on after that. But that is not changing, is what you're telling us, right? That's still going to be the case.
That part of it, yeah.
That part of it, right.
Yeah, that's still, and all of a sudden you think what's going on, that's that Houston game with the Bills in the playoffs and who's controlling things from up top and all that kind of stuff. By the way, Joe Buck was there. I met Joe Buck. You guys don't, I got to tell you guys, this thing, the owners' meetings, it's crazy. They have this big reception on Monday night. I've told you about it before. You go to this big reception, and they actually had to move it inside this year because it was raining, but it was inside the hotel. And you just never know. Like this year, Guy Fieri was there, Caitlin Clark was there, Serena Williams was there. Like you never know who's going to show up at these things. Anyway, Joe Buck was there. He's in the hotel and walking around. And I got a chance to talk with him. He called the Yankees opening day on ESPN and had a big Bob Uecker tribute and all that kind of stuff. So we actually talked a little bit about that. But yeah, that reception they have on Monday night, I'm not kidding. Like you just never know who's going to be there.
Serena Williams may own part of the Dolphins. I think she might be involved in that. Okay.
In fact, Mike, last year, Vince Carter showed up. He wasn't an owner of the Bills yet, and we didn't really know. Like, hey, it's Vince Carter, but it was in Orlando, and that's where he's from. So I just said, oh, he's from Daytona, actually, somewhere in there. I'm like, oh, okay, Vince Carter's here. He's part of he's a big sports guy. And then all of a sudden, we find out he's part of one of the Bills 6 months later.
Right. Triple headers on Christmas for at least the next 4 years. It was announced, and these will all be streaming games. Netflix has 2, and Prime maybe the 3rd. I mean, the Bills feel right for that. They haven't gotten the Christmas straw yet, and they've been a popular team, in island games and prime time. I don't know. It's going to be 6 out of 32 teams this year and every year here for the foreseeable future. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they were among them.
I 100% agree with you. I think the Bills, at some point here, will get in the rotation, if you will, for Christmas, maybe Black Friday.
Yep.
Like I think, there's still some rumblings out there that the Bills could possibly go to Ireland. I think the league kind of is earmarking maybe the Packers, but if it's Aaron Rodgers with the Steelers, I don't think they put that game on Sunday at 9 a.m. in Ireland. So maybe that's the Bills, but maybe then Bills-Steelers otherwise would be a game like that. Because I say that because the Steelers are traditionally a team that they do put in these spots. If you go back and look, the Steelers have played a ton of these holiday-type games. Mm-hmm. They played on Christmas, Thanksgiving, I think multiple times over the last several years. Now, maybe it's just luck of the draw and they don't do that anymore, right? Who knows? But it feels like that's the kind of team they put in these spots.
Boring teams, like the Steelers. So we'll see which way they go this year. All right, Sal, thanks for this. Have a safe trip home.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you later.
There you go. There's Sal Capaccio and his coverage, our coverage, the station's coverage. Really, it's Sal. Of the NFL owners' meetings, live from West Palm Beach, Florida, with Sal Capaccio. Brought to you by Window Nation, the perfect fit for your home and wallet. Visit windownation.com.
Christmas games.
I'm also expecting that to include the Bills too. I mean, just anecdotally, right? I mean, they've made the rounds of the Thanksgiving thing, right? They've been in every window of that opportunity in the last, well, starting in 19, I guess, right? That was Dallas,
right?
So yeah, it feels like they're marquee enough. The quarterback's the MVP. They're in the AFC title game, like full steam ahead, I think, on all that sort of stuff. And so Christmas feels like a spot for them.
And their schedule this year is very much home friendly, if you will, meaning that their marquee games are like all home games. Baltimore, Cincinnati, Kansas City, Philadelphia. The division is obviously going to be both every year. But those are the 4 best games on the schedule, and they're all in Buffalo. And, instead, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, maybe Pittsburgh. Sal mentioned Pittsburgh. Atlanta, Carolina. Those are your other, and Houston. Those are your other road games. So I guess I would say right now, I bet they play at home on Christmas. That's why we didn't talk about Diggs on a Wednesday during your vacation, because we had to go through some schedule
Sal for a whole show. Yeah, right.
We had to do some of that.
Right.
Trying to guess who the Friday night Packers opponent in Brazil will be. Or Chargers. Not Packers, Chargers. That's a thing.
Packers were last year in Brazil against Philly.
Yes, they were.
Right.
Yes, they were.
The Chargers are the host team of that this
so
year?
I've been told, yeah.
Okay.
And then Sunday night, and then Monday night.
And this your Ireland thing, that's only the Sal mentioned Green Bay. Was that like as also a potential opponent for the Steelers, or are they a European? They're not a possibility for the Bills. The Bills don't play them.
Packers?
Yeah, right.
No, when the first rumors came out about Dublin, it was said Green Bay and Pittsburgh.
Okay.
But that was never made official, just the Steelers part. And Sal pointed out the other day, what if Rodgers signs with the Steelers? Are they going to send Aaron Rodgers versus the Packers to play on a Sunday morning in Ireland? Like, is that going to happen?
Right.
I mean, could.
Yeah.
But his point was maybe the Bills would be a possibility there. They don't have another international commitment.
Yeah.
And they are one of the Steelers', road opponents. So that could happen, I guess. Next, Carlin Hartman, associate head coach, University of Florida, which is headed to the Final Four. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR.
We know you.
Williams intercepted. The Gators are going to the Final Four.
Confirmed. And we are excited to be connected to the Florida program through our friend Carlin Hartman, who was associate head coach there. Carlin and I go back to proud days at Grand Island High School. I'm comfortable with my own age, Carlin. I'm not comfortable with yours. Like, I look up your stuff and 52. No, I understand my age. I can feel it. But my friends, I don't know. It's weird. Congratulations to you, and thanks for fitting us in.
Mike, you're only 1 year older than me.
Not even.
What are we talking about? You're young too.
Well, I don't know.
That's the spirit right there. I don't want to hear any of this. I'm older than both of you by a lot. Yeah, it's good to talk to you again, Carlin. I'm just back from vacation. I walked in the door, or this morning, Mike sent me a text that you were going to be on, and I was very happy. I remember touching base with you back in the Oklahoma days, and it's nice to have you on again.
Yeah. Thanks again. Thanks, Bulldog. Appreciate it. Good talking to you, Mikey. How you doing, buddy?
I'm okay. I'm excited for you. Florida Gators, Final Four. Did you know right away, even before the season, maybe this was a special team?
I thought it was going to be a really special team just because of the pieces that we added, and we were able to, in this day of college basketball, retain the guys that we wanted to have back. Obviously, Walter Clayton was a huge piece of that. Will Richard, Alex Condon, Thomas Houck, Micah Hanlockton, and Denzel Aberdeen. And then we were able to add some really good pieces in Elijah Martin, who's got Final Four pedigree coming from Florida Atlantic, along with Ruben Chinyelu, who we got from Washington State, and Sam Alexis. So we thought we had a chance to be really good. I'm not going to sit here and say I thought we had a chance to be 34-win good, but I did think we had a chance to play deep in the tournament for sure.
You mentioned the environment and the way things have changed in the sport. What has that been like from your end of it? I would imagine it's made the job a lot more challenging, but also maybe there's a lot more juice to it now.
Yeah, that's a good point, Bulldog. It is. The challenge has just become, gone are the days of, having relationships where you're recruiting a kid for 2 or 3 years, and then you get them to, go to the University of Oklahoma or go to the University of Florida, where, they're just dying to go to those places, especially for in-state kids. Or for me, Syracuse back, in the late 80s. Now, those things don't happen as much. I think relationships still matter, but I think it's more of a fraction than it is, the whole overall scheme of how you recruit guys. Now it's, again, what you can offer them, through playing time, of course, but also what you can offer them through NIL. And, it is a huge part of what we're dealing with. And fortunately, in my opinion, we have the best head coach in terms of being able to construct a roster, manage a roster, and get that roster to get the most out of the talent in Todd Golden. And he's the best in the country at it, in my opinion. He's a new age type of guy, when it comes to the analytics part of it, how we go about recruiting guys. And I think he's a huge reason. I know he's a huge reason why we're in this position, as well as the players that we brought in.
I know that you and he were together on the bench at Columbia a little bit more than a decade ago. How does it work out that he hires you? He went at the same time you did, right? have you guys been tight and just sort of looked forward to maybe that opportunity together someday, or is it a different story?
No, it's I think you can't get a college basketball job just by throwing out your resume on Indeed. It's a relationship based deal that we have here. And so, the coaching fraternity is, albeit a pretty big one, it's still kind of relatively small in the overall scheme of things. And so we were together for 2 years at Columbia. We just maintained a great relationship over the course of the time in which we were not just together, but the time in which we were apart. I ended up going to Oklahoma, Rice in Oklahoma. He ends up going to Auburn, and then the University of San Francisco. And so we just stayed in contact. We worked on some things together, some projects together. And, when he got this job, I was one of his first calls to come back with him, and he named me his second in charge, and it's been great ever since.
With Carlin Hartman, associate head coach at the University of Florida, Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, the game in this tournament of yours I spent the most time with, and basically that was the whole thing, was UConn in the second round. And what a basketball game that was. You know, not knowing your team that well, I was worried for Florida in that game. Of course, two-time national champs, and it just kind of smelled like one of those games where one team just knew how to rise to the right level in the tournament. But you guys had to be tough. I mean, it was not given to you.
Yeah, no, 100%. You know, when the brackets come out, you know, we see that we're a number one seed in the West. And the first thing you look at is, and I'm just going to be quite frank, and no disrespect to Norfolk State, but you look at what's after that first-round matchup. And we saw the 8-9 was UConn, Oklahoma, and you're like, okay, well, now we got a battle. We got a real, you know, it's going to be tough because, like you said, they had won 13 straight NCAA tournament games. Obviously, the personnel changed, but the staff didn't. And they still had parts of that program that were there for the last couple of years, and Alex Karaman and Diallo and Samson Johnson. So they were still, you know, the defending national champs. So we had to knock them off, and they were outstanding in that game. They guarded well. Obviously, their offense on a one-day prep is tough to deal with because they're using all this motion away from the ball, on the ball, you know, manipulating, you know, coverages and switches. And Danny Hurley is, you know, one of the best in the country, you know, as a coach. So that was the first, you know, of two really tough matchups that we had to get through. And once we got through UConn, we kind of were able to breathe a little bit. Not easy, but we were able to breathe. And in the Sweet 16 matchup, we felt good about Maryland. And then, again, on the ropes, you know, against a really good Texas Tech team with 3 minutes to go, down 9. And players make plays. You know, that's all I can say. And Walter Clayton and Thomas Hawk, they helped us, you know, get through that Elite Eight game and onto the Final Four.
On the UConn game, for one more thing, by the way, I mean, lots of great moves and plays, but the move you make to the interview scene where the head coach is there with one of the stars. Here comes Carl storming off the bench. He's got the rest of the roster with him, and just like that was a great play by you to get in on that.
You know what? Normally I try to stay out of any of that stuff, and we will always huddle up at center court, especially after a victory, and just, you know, soak in the atmosphere, take it all in, and definitely after home games and neutral site wins. And we were huddling, and then we noticed that we were missing Todd and Walter, and I was like, you know what? Let's just go over there and huddle over there, you know, while they were live on air. So it was a little bit impromptu on my part, and if you watch that, I kind of snuck away after the first question was asked of Todd, and they went to Walt, and I was like, let me get out of here, let these guys go and enjoy this moment.
Right on. So Auburn next.
Right. Familiarity, right? I mean, you've seen these guys. How much does that help, or could it hurt?
No, I think it's a combination. It helps because we are familiar, and we've battled with these guys over the last, you know, obviously since we've been here, and they're in our league, of course, and we know them well, they know us well. That part helps. And there's going to be some adjustments that are going to be made that obviously I won't talk about on air. That they're going to do as well on their side of it. But we were missing two key pieces since we played them the first time, in which we played really well down in Auburn and winning that game 90-81, I believe it was. And we had two pieces that weren't there. Elijah Martin, who's our starting guard, he wasn't playing. He had an injury that he was still nursing. And then we also didn't have our backup center, Micah Handlockton, who's very key to what we do. So we won that game with essentially a 7-man rotation. And this time around, you know, we'll be a little bit deeper. And so we'll be ready. I'll say that. We'll be ready.
All right.
We'll be ready.
You want to take a couple Bills questions, or you have any for us? What do you want to do with the Bills? So probably one of the farthest things from your mind, but I know you and you love them. We're in contact during the season.
I'll take one, and then I'll ask you guys one.
All right.
How about that?
Does it bother you that they don't have better wide receivers?
No, because we have Josh Allen.
Okay.
what actually bothers me is that we can't figure out defensively, how to get this thing done in the postseason. Now, I understand that we've had injuries and sometimes matchups, are going to take over and so forth. Especially we lost Benford to an injury, and then you had to throw out our backup cornerback this year, and the year before we didn't have linebackers. So I understand that, especially as a coach. But what I would really love is if we would just get ourselves, like a disruptor next to Ed Oliver that can like push the middle of the line, so that we can see what we got on the edge. Because it all works together, right? Like, just like in basketball. You got to have a point guard to initiate the offense so that the centers can score, because the centers can't really dribble. So everybody's got to work together. So I think you call it a one technique defensive tackle, disruptor. That's what I would like.
The draft could be your moment right there. All right, one more. What have you got on your mind here, or was that it?
No, I guess what I have on my mind is, what do you guys think just in the next 5 years, Bulldog first and then Mike second, will the Bills get this thing done and finally win us a Super Bowl?
The idea of sitting in this chair 5 years from now with them not having won a Super Bowl seems impossible for me to comprehend. And I know how that sounds, because we opened this whole conversation up talking about how we're all in our 50s. I'll go with that here in finger quotes.
Generous.
So I have to believe that within the next couple of years they will win one. So I would say yes, within 5 for sure.
You certainly can't say no, but you made the point about defense and the Chiefs. And the Chiefs, these last 2 years, what they have done to get by is just incredible. I mean, how could the Bills have had a better season than they did? They beat Kansas City, 13 wins, and the last game didn't even matter. And it still wasn't enough to even get them into a chance at a tie against Kansas City, which was beating Carolina by a field goal every week. So I don't know. Right. It does test your faith in it, right? I mean, what the Chiefs have done, but they're not going to make it every year, I think.
Correct. Yeah, it's kind of like at some point, parity's got to come on the Bills' side.
At some point, somebody has to tip a pass or something in one of these games.
Right. Yeah, Carlin, how would you answer that question? Like, do you think they'll get one within that time frame that you mentioned here?
So Mike knows this. I don't know if you know this, Bulldog. So every year I was at Tulane, literally as a player, 1991, lost to the Giants. 1992, lost to the Redskins. 93, 94, lost to the Cowboys. So I'm at school every single year. I'm ever the optimist. Like, this is the year. Right. But it got worse. It got progressively worse every year. I'm going to say yes to that question. We have one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history in our franchise, and he's still in his prime. So I think anytime you have a chance to go play with a guy like that, he's just going to elevate everybody around him. He seems like he's got a really pure heart about him, and he loves Buffalo, and he really wants to bring a championship. So, I do believe we're going to get it done. And I just think that once we can get the defense figured out in the postseason, we're gonna definitely get one within 5 years. So I'm going to say yes as well.
Well, I think I can speak for Bulldog on this. We are rooting for Florida to get one. Since Baylor lost, so we were rooting for Florida to get one here in my home. Just kidding.
Right.
Just kidding.
That's right. That's right. I know how much of a Bears fan you are.
I'm sick of Bears, but that wasn't a problem this year. They were just okay. Made the tournament. Anyway, Carlin, thank you for this, and best of luck this weekend.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys, and I'm always listening to you guys whenever I get an opportunity on Sports Radio Odyssey, I believe it is. So,
yes.
Always enjoy the show.
Thanks, Carlin. Good luck once again. Very good.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Carlin Hartman, associate head coach at Florida and Auburn, 6:09 on Saturday. None of this 6:10. Don't sit down. 6:09.
Well, whatever you do, make sure you keep pushing the start time for the first of the two games back as far as you can.
I know.
That's where you want to be.
That bothered me last weekend. I knew it was the case, but still, we can't move these up. What am I supposed to do? Watch golf?
Well, I mean,
that's what I do. Actually, that is what I do.
I do enjoy.
What am I supposed to do? Watch baseball? Yes. That is. Let's continue. By the way, just quickly to get it in here, since the subject of the sport has come up. Continuing the recent popular tradition, did Mike watch a baseball game last night? Yes, two even. Two. You didn't know about this new segment?
No,
two even.
I'm sorry, I missed a Zoom call while I was away.
There wasn't one. Pittsburgh and Tampa.
I was watching that. You know what I thought when I saw it on the guide? I said at Tampa, and I went, ha!
It's different now.
I can watch this.
It looks minor league, though, right?
Yeah,
it is minor league.
It looks terrible.
You know.
It looked terrible. But still, cleanest 4K picture on earth of the same two teams playing inside that dome in Tampa? No way.
No way. No chance.
I hung there and watched for a while there.
Then I went to Cleveland, San Diego.
Yeah, I never got there. I was in bed by first pitch for that.
So did Mike watch a baseball game last night? And the answer is yes, and it was 2 games. 803-0550 on the owners' meeting stuff. James Cook, we talked about a little bit. Bulldog is back. The Sabres are back on the ice tonight in Ottawa. Pre-game for that one is at 6, game at 7. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, back after this break on WGR. Had an instinct to say something, then thought, what would this be to listen to? Speaking of golf, these guys been talking golf all day? No, not even at all, really.
No, I just mentioned how terribly I played in Puerto Rico while we were gone.
You did also slip that in. That's right.
Very much in passing.
I was just going to mention that the Masters is next week, and you are going to be on the clock for that one.
I'm ready.
And we did flip it for their Pick 10 contest, so you do get to pick 10 guys. We did change that.
Okay,
Not
good.
just 7.
I didn't remember that, but good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you remembered it.
Yeah, Sep, you can pick 10, any 10 players.
I'll be ready.
Definitely want to pick some of those old-timers that they bring back,
Oh, sure. The
ceremonial first tee.
Sure. Yeah. Gary Player, Tom Watson.
I get all over Gary Player next week. Yeah. I mean, he's named Player.
I mean, it's hard to beat. Yeah.
Scheffler has been kind of erratic.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, and he got close again. I didn't watch Sunday very closely, but I know he lost by 1. I think, right? He ended up a tie for second, I think, at 19 under. Min Woo Lee won it. And so I guess, I don't know, maybe it's progress, because what I've seen mostly of Scheffler this year is on Sunday especially, he gets your attention because he's far enough down the leaderboard, but it's realistic, and like the odds are as good as they're going to get on him. They're like, oh, well, maybe I'll take a flyer on that. And he starts out really well and then sort of flames as the Sunday goes on. He just has not been able to close out Sunday rounds when it looks like he's really like 4 birdies on the front. Look out, here comes Scotty, and then nothing.
When I'm watching him, he's losing his temper.
Oh, okay.
Throwing clubs.
Been some of that, yeah.
He made it, was it the Players where he missed the putt on 18 and he was not going to win, but he just sort of made this weird gesture?
Yeah.
Doesn't...
He seems a little tight. I would say.
Yeah. Off.
So, but again, maybe this week was... I didn't watch closely. I know what the score. I saw the very end of it, and I knew he had a chance, but at least he didn't go completely the wrong way on late Sunday.
He's probably the favorite?
I would expect, yeah.
Next week.
Him and Rory, I think, will probably be the top 2.
It's been a long time since Rory has won one.
Yes.
But he won the Players, right?
He needs a Masters for a career Grand Slam. I think he's won the other 3, I believe.
He did win the Players, though. Am I remembering that right? Like a couple weeks ago?
Yes, Rory did. Yeah, I'm sorry.
He did, yeah.
Yes. Sorry. In my head, for some reason, I was equating that to one of the majors.
Okay.
And so I was like, well,
okay, yeah.
In my head, I heard PGA champ. Yes, he's won that.
I got into the guy he beat. Span was his name. And they went to the playoff on Monday.
Yeah.
It was a great tournament to watch. All right. We will take a break, have the update. The Sabres play tonight. We've been talking about James Cook and where that's headed. Maybe not somewhere good. Rules changes, replay assist, tush push, all this kind of thing. Christmas triple headers, what we got out of the owners' meetings earlier today and yesterday as well. Lines are open for your calls. The draft, too. Can't forget about the draft. I'll get you a new name. At least new to me, anyway. Maybe not to you. As a possible Bills pick.
Draft idea of the day? Or is that
draft idea of the day? Absolutely.
Right. Did Mike watch a baseball game
last night? Old and new. We've got both. 803-0550 for your calls. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
Coming up in just about an hour as the Sabres are on the road to take on the Ottawa Senators. Puck drop at 7 p.m. James Reimer set to get the start in net. Josh Norris and Jordan Greenway appear to be out tonight. And then for Ottawa, we do know Brady Tkachuk is out with an upper body injury. 9 other games in the NHL tonight. Some notables. Also at 7 o'clock, Washington there in Boston to take on the Bruins. Alex Ovechkin just 5 goals away from passing Wayne Gretzky to take the all-time goal list. 8 p.m., Blues host Detroit, and then 10:30 tonight we'll wrap up with the Kings hosting Winnipeg. Down in Florida, voting went down at the NFL owners' meetings today. Notably, no news on the state of the tush push. It was tabled to a future meeting. We did, though, get some changes for overtime, as regular season will now more emulate the postseason. Both teams will get to possess the ball. The overtime period, though, will still remain at 10 minutes. And touchbacks, they get moved now to the 35-yard line. And then the Bisons, they're in action tonight. They begin a 6-game road series against the Memphis Redbirds. Tonight's matchup going to get going just after 7:45, and that game can be heard on our sister station, The Bet 1520. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp.
You might be mocking me or you might be staunchly agreeing with me. I can't tell.
I'm mocking you.
And the Bulldog.
What is Fozzie Bear's role in this production?
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
Just got done with one of my favorite columns to read, Bill Barnwell's mock draft where every team makes a trade.
Okay, sure.
Has to make a trade.
That tracks.
Love it. Not any real excitement when it came to the Bills. Just the only trade involving the Bills is the one they are obligated to make at their pick.
Mm-hmm.
This is like the Sean McIndoe idea, where in hockey, you can't use your own number one pick. I had that in a fantasy league, but the league ran out, so I don't have that anymore. Anyway, the Bills, in this Bill Barnwell piece, trade down 2 spots with the Eagles. You know, a pretty modest little move, like the ones they made last year.
And the Eagles, with that draft pick, take a defensive tackle who's going to wreak havoc on the NFC and thus the entire NFL for the next 7 years.
And then the Bills at 32 take a lesser defensive tackle.
They take Kyer Elam's little brother.
Oh, wow. He went right to that.
Sorry.
He does write that Philadelphia, like by trading up 2 spots, how the Eagles have done a lot of this, jumping up a spot or 2 to beat a specific team to a player it wants. Howie Roseman did some version of this swap in 2019 for Andre Dillard, 21 for Devontae Smith, 22 for Jordan Davis, 23 for Jalen Carter. This is the thing that the Bills do that annoys me, though. It depends on how the guy plays.
Of course, right.
This is trading up for Elam and trading up for Kincaid and trading up for Zay Jones and trading up for Cody Ford and trading up, all these different times for guys. Just, who's the linebacker before
Reggie
McDermott?
Ragland.
Before McDermott even got here. Reggie Ragland.
Right.
They traded up 5 spots for Reggie Ragland. I just lost my mind over that.
We'll see, but it works.
I was right. I mean, an inside linebacker, you're giving up like 2 draft picks to do that? Come on. You have to know these things. Well, the Bills, it's not like they're out of control. Last year was a trade down year.
That's right.
And here in this scenario, they're doing the same thing.
And they traded down, if I'm not mistaken, twice before picking James Cook in the second round.
Yes.
A few years ago. So.
They got 2 sixths in that process. 2 sixes. Who I don't even know who they were, but it was something, at least. You'd maybe assume they were going to take Cook, or they wanted to anyway.
Yeah, I think, and maybe they thought they could get away with it, so they waited, and they still got the player that, I don't know, we believe they wanted anyways.
I was asked today if I thought the Bills trading Cook was possible. And I guess now I would have to say yes. Before this week, who's making this trade? Do the Bills want to trade him? Does another team want to trade for a running? What is the price? Does another team want to pay him the $15 million?
Right.
I mean,
that's the big question, I think.
All these questions are no to me. But now you just don't know what kind of acrimony there might be, or maybe more importantly, distance between their offer and his ask. So could that happen? I guess. I mean, I'm like everybody into the draft, super excited about the running backs. Even going the Ian Hartitz path, being open, if it happens that it comes up, to talking about it in the second round. But not if I have James Cook signed to any kind of real contract.
Right. No, then I don't think you're even drafting a running back at all.
Really?
In this, I mean, they're at least not one that I would expect to have a role this year. I mean, they've got Johnson re-signed, they've got Ray Davis, and if they were to reach an agreement with Cook, or he just decides to put it off until free agency and play his cards that way, that's fine too. Maybe that's the Bills' ideal scenario. It certainly is mine. I'm not eager to divest myself of James Cook. What I'm not eager to do is pay him what he thinks he should be getting paid. And again, I'd have that same trouble if Saquon Barkley were the Bills' starting running back. I don't think I'd want to be in the business of paying running backs that money. But I know results. The Eagles won the Super Bowl. I maintain they could have won it with your name here playing running back for them. But nonetheless, they were a run-heavy team, and he had 2,000 yards. They should stop trying to make a case that he wasn't good. I know he's good.
No, it's not. You're not saying he wasn't good.
How much better is he than an alternative? But really, that whole premise it's built on putting a team together, right, that can win it all. And the Eagles just won it all, paying Saquon Barkley almost that, and now they're paying him even more. So it's insane. But anyway, I think trading Cook has to be on the table. And I wouldn't have been willing to dismiss it prior to Bean's comments. But in neither scenario, prior to Bean making comments about it and now afterward, I still wouldn't expect that you do great in that trade. It's more to alleviate the situation. And when you're the team in the position that needs the situation alleviated, that's a lot of what the other team is paying you. They're just taking care of this problem that you don't want to solve.
Sorry. Like, here it is, I think. Let's say we're a different team and we think we need a running back. This is Denver, Chargers maybe, although Najee Harris, Raiders, Dallas, right? We're one of these teams where
Dallas is the team you got to call.
Well, always call Dallas or the Raiders. Maybe that's different now, but right. Like, these are the teams where running backs are being mocked, even in the first round, even at pick 6 when it comes to the Raiders. A lot of people are putting Ashton Genty there. So I'm the Bills, and I've decided that, James Cook, I mean, he's good, but he wants way more money than we think is right. So Denver, just to pick one. Doesn't matter. I don't want to base it on like draft capital, but Denver. You call Denver. What does Denver say? Denver says, "Are you mad? Like, you want us to trade for a guy who's coming up on 8 figures, right? Mm-hmm. You want us to, and not just draft Omarion Hampton, who's probably easily better? You want us to do that? I think we're not going to do that. Whatever the pick, I mean, you don't have to, it wouldn't be a first for Cook, but, they wouldn't make that trade at all, but they wouldn't make that trade and draft a running back in the first round. Like, no. He would be their guy now. And you're going to the moon on what it's going to cost you. So this is true at all positions, but this is your chance to grab talent and have them be, relatively cheap for 4 or 5 years.
Right.
And that's what Denver should easily prefer. That's what all of them should easily prefer that to trading for Cook. I mean, if I'm giving up a 4th or something, and then I can draft linemen instead, maybe. But I still think with this running back class, you might be able to draft a guy on Saturday who's better.
And you're not getting a 4th would be, I was waiting to say here, absolutely you're into day 3 with return in this trade. And I don't even know if a 4th isn't too, I just, because of the money. Like, I just don't know. That's why I'm mostly joking about calling Dallas, but like, I said this a couple of weeks ago. Like, that's the team that you got to target. And if they say no, then everyone is saying no. Because if they're not going to trade for a guy 3 years into his career who scored 16 touchdowns last year, if they don't want to take that guy and pay him for a 5th-round pick, then I don't think anyone is open for business in this way. I could be wrong, but I just think a running back who wants a contract, I think we've been around the block on this. And I know it changed with guys in free agency last year. It would be great for the Bills if it changed dramatically enough for a team to want to do this. I just can't. I have a hard time finding a team to do it. But if I'm the Bills, I would love it if someone called on it.
But I would, if I were the Bills, I would not make that trade either. For a fifth?
Why not?
Because I'm giving him away. It's the Super Bowl window point, and I still have to come to a deal with him. But I would probably get close to $10 million, and instead of trading him for like a Saturday pick. I just think it's both things for me. He's proven that he's good. He has value, and he's not old. You just have to get the money right. But there should be talent in this draft that's about on the same level as Cook. You just wouldn't want to. Ideally, you wouldn't want to replace him. If you could upgrade, then maybe there's that. But you wouldn't really. You're not going into the offseason hoping to replace him. He's not somebody like that.
So if you know you're not going to pay him,
well, to the best extent that you can on April 1st,
right? And we've got 3 weeks here, basically, for all intents and purposes, to kick this around until the draft is here. Because if you were going to move him, that's when it would happen. If some team were interested in doing it, rather than drafting and tapping into this rich pool of rookies that are at their disposal, which again, it defies logic, but somebody maybe would do it. If you know you're never going to get to his number, then you got to make a call on whether you believe, like, what kind of feel do you have for how much he's going to rock the boat, if at all. Is he going to show up and play out the year because he wants to get the bag after this season? Do you maybe even, to some extent or another, I know you're not doing a new contract, and that's where, like, not using the franchise tag usually comes in. But, like, could you give him some assurance? No, we're not going to franchise. You can hit the market. We just want you to play out your contract. Like, do you get...
Like Najee.
Yeah, do you get 100% of James Cook? Do you believe that you will? Then I think absolutely you keep going. And just let him walk. And don't worry about a Saturday pick.
It's tough to know those answers.
Right. You got the people in the room have got to have a real idea, because Cook will threaten, I would expect anyway, that whatever leverage he has is going to be in not showing up. So that has to be on the table from their standpoint as an idea, theoretically, whether they're really going to do it or not. I think they have to present that they will. And if the Bills are really nervous about that and don't think it's just a bluff, then that's where I think you consider moving him for whatever you can get and draft his not his eventual replacement, his immediate replacement.
Immediate replacement.
And maybe that's on Friday, as soon as Friday.
That would be a third. I think where it could be possible is the third round. And the Bills don't have a pick in the third round, where a team it'd be a good team, or it'd be Dallas. It'd be a good team probably that would do that and want what they know they have in the player, what they've seen in the player in the NFL, and the idea of, like, paying him the way the Eagles have done and other teams have done successfully, you'd have to say. And then the Bills could draft somebody like a top 10 running back. It might not even be the top 10 by the third round, the way this thing sounds.
Yeah.
But probably mid-third round, you're about running back 10. And I think that is probably a player who's about as good. Maybe better. Maybe it's like so deep. People say that. Depends on what you think of Cook. And I've always thought he was, pretty much okay. Fine, right? That's my bit.
He's fine.
He's fine.
I think I think he's maybe more than fine, but he's not elite. I know that. Even with, like, being able to run away from people last year, which was a newer feature in his game because he did not, to me, have that extra gear last year. Like, I still don't look at a guy, the skill set, the talent-wise is like, oh my God, how can you not see it? He's not undeniably elite at all.
Nope.
And again, you want to be paid like that. I don't know, man. It's just I have a real a tough time with it, because I've liked the player, I've admired the player. I feel like I've liked him more than you. Like
everybody likes him.
The reason why the fine thing has become a bit is because I keep pushing back on fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
What do you mean it's fine? That's what I say when I don't really like the food I'm eating. It's just fine.
Yeah.
Like, it's not gonna kill me, but I'd rather be eating something more delicious than this.
Most Bills things are fine. Most players on the team are fine. There's one who's amazing, and there are a couple or few maybe who are, like, good, And then everybody else is kind of fine. And once in a while you get a guy that just has to come off the field. But, that's most of us in life. We're fine. Not incredible.
Right.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's tough. I enjoy the sparring matches on Cook. And what usually happens when it's with fans, it's like it's grossly exaggerated how good they think. The last guy we talked to about James Cook mentioned OJ. Remember?
Yes.
There's not been another one since you left that I remember. Like, it's just OJ, and just these all-pro, just the loftiest possible superlatives. And, come on. What evidence of there really is in terms of, like, how he's, whether you want to look at Pro Bowl, All-Pro, you want to look at fantasy, whatever sort of evaluation you want to use for this, he's good.
I think he's mostly looked at as a guy who had an incredibly productive touchdown year that nobody believes is going to be sticky at all. And so where does that leave you? I give him 8 touchdowns last year instead of 16. And how does this conversation sound about him? Like, I don't know, is it still the same? Does he think he deserves $15 million? Is that still where it starts? Maybe it is. I don't know. But I don't believe I've got a guy that's going to be at that level year in and year out. And really, what are we talking about anyway? 3 more good years? I mean, we're talking about running back. I know. It just, I get tangled up on it because I've never felt clean advocating for not paying them because I don't think it's exactly fair the way the league, the way the machinations have resulted in this, but I think it's right.
Well, it's changed some. I mean, guys did get paid last year.
That's right.
And Barkley just broke through the ceiling there this year. So that's, Cook's, the timing of that, the trends are in his favor. Not that the Bills have to care.
Right.
But really, like, it is a moment where maybe close to what he's asking for could seem like fair in terms of market value. I'm hedging that as much as possible. Here's CJ with us. Hi.
Hey, guys. Hey, real quick on the fine. In the Army, fine means freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. But as far as Cook, I don't know. Maybe I'm just, my mindset on Cook is, do you lose much by trading him or do you gain more by paying him? And and then I look at how the Bills utilized him situationally. At the end of the Chiefs game, that last drive, I don't know if he played it at all.
No, he didn't.
And it goes by just how do you view him? Because if you're going to keep him and pay him, whether it's what you want to pay him or what he wants to be paid, utilization matters. You remember when we traded for Nyheim Hines and we are confused on how or when we were going to use him? It never really came to fruition. Just because you pay him and based off skill, you still have to have the offensive scheme to use him schematically. Now, I don't know if we use him because we use the whole stable. Honestly, I value Ty Johnson, as Josh Allen says, the best third down back in the league, a lot more because he can catch and he can pass block. And that's really where I am. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying on a team where now our running back is really good, how much do you value paying him or trading him? And I wouldn't trade him by himself. I would make a package deal.
Okay.
And this may be a let's get stupid, but I don't know. Hey, guys don't want to pay Micah Parsons?
How did you not lead with this?
I know. But I ended with that as more or less you guys also wanted Kincaid. So either you can have Kincaid or Knox. I don't know. But based off our offense, you can have either one. We'll work it out. And I'll give you this guy and a fourth. And let's talk about it because you got to pay him and we don't want to pay Cook. So
gotcha.
Let's pick one.
Thank you. Parsons, for all the time we, all of us spent on Myles Garrett, Parsons is not a dead idea. Like that.
No, not at all.
The Bills never seemed to me really in play for Garrett. Cap space and just other teams better positioned. And in the end, he stays anyway. But if they did want him, and there are people who thought that, how is Parsons different? And Dallas is stuck. Speaking of your Cowboys, I mean, they are stuck. How are they going to pay him? And there's this development today, too, where, like, Jerry Jones talked about an offer, but it didn't have his agent or something like this.
Doesn't even know
he's
who the agent is.
Yeah, it sounds terrible.
Right.
But just if you didn't have that, it was in Barnwell because he had Parsons traded to Atlanta. in his thing.
Okay.
It's like $135 million to 3 guys would be the Cowboys if they signed him for like
the market rate.
Realistic money. Yeah.
Right.
So what's going to happen? They could do it.
Sure.
But hasn't happened yet. Jones is very proud of himself for waiting, even though it costs him lots in the end, just like with the Bengals guys. Want to get ahead of it? I don't know. The main stuff the guy was talking about, though, with Cook, we've talked about many times.
Usage, yeah.
Usage, because you can always look at that either way. Efficiency, 44% of snaps, 18 touchdowns, boom. I mean, I don't want to overwork him because he's not big anyway. So I'm getting the max out of the player, and now I have this production. That costs money. Fine. Or CJ, he wasn't even on the field when my season was on the line.
Right.
He did make a great play in that game.
He did, but the usage is a big part of it to me. I mean, you could tell me Brandon Beane they could announce a contract extension for James Cook for 3 years and $45 million, 30 of it guaranteed, and we're all over the moon. And we actually we talked about it, and we intend to use him much more than 40. I'm just hypothetically think of a news conference. 60%, whatever. They're going to up it because, well, we're paying him, and that's the way the world works, right? We're going to get max value out of this, and I wouldn't want to trust that. If I'm them, I want to keep using him the way I've been using him. It keeps him fresh and healthy, and the other guys have defined roles that are pretty clear, and they're good at them. So it circles me back to how badly do I want to pay top dollar market rate for one of my 3 running backs who doesn't even play half of the time. If I don't want to play him more, and I think there's a strong argument to not play this guy more because he is not 6 foot and 220 pounds. He's slighter than that. So
yeah, I think that's exactly the Bills' position.
So where do I go? Like I just don't. I don't have a running back I want to put on the field as often as to have him be paid that much. So what am I doing? I'm starting over probably.
Well, wait until you see Bashal Tootin in a Bills uniform in a month, because then you're going to want to play that guy. They're going to draft a running back in the 4th round. We're going to watch highlights. We're going to be like, actually, couldn't this guy start? Looks better than Davis. All of it. It's happening. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog at 803-0550. Sabres pregame at 6. Buffalo at Ottawa. This is WGR.
him to death, and I'm sure he's going to want to come out and prove that the value that he and his reps put on him. Hey, I'm going to show you. If we're not there, I'm going to go out here and do it again. So he'd be showing us, and then obviously showing the whole league as well. So, and we want him to have success. We're rooting for him, and we want nothing more, just like these other guys, for James to continue being a Buffalo Bill well past this season. But we are where we are, and there's no hard feelings from us.
More of what Brandon Beane had to say at the owners' meetings about James Cook. One of the more interesting storylines here this Bills offseason.
No hard feelings from us.
No, we love him.
He's under contract, and we have the hammer of a franchise tag, so we're not mad. we got nothing to be mad about. Everybody else who was ready and primed for an extension got one. Nope. Not the guy with the emoji eyeballs on Twitter.
Right. Let's go to Dan next. Hi, Dan.
How you guys doing tonight?
All right, Dan. Thanks for calling us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I wish we'd start coming closer to spring. I mean, it's been winter. Not a whole lot of love here.
No kidding, man. I can't wait to get out of here and get some warm weather. Just feel some sun and
you ready to get away?
Go to get to a beach. I if you don't know, Dan, I just got back from Puerto Rico.
Rub that right in.
But I feel you.
I know, right?
Right in. I love it, but it's all good. I mean, I know Shady McCoy. He came in, and it's like, I mean, he did close to 4,000 yards in the 3 years he was here, 30 touchdowns. I mean, he added that spark when we needed that spark, and I see that a lot in Cook. Granted, he was here, he didn't come in when Shady was here, but, I mean, he came in a few years later, but, I mean, he can grant that spark that the Bills really need it when they need it, and he showed it this year, and, I mean, they got to reward him. They got to try to reward this guy. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Tell me.
I think they would like to certainly have him be happy and feel like they appreciate him, but I think they have, and I respect it, it's just, I don't know, a figure in mind that's just too far to go for a running back of his abilities and that they want to use the way they're using him. And so I think it's tough. Like, I think it's important that guys get rewarded when they work hard and they're productive and they help. And the risk the Bills are taking here by being so far pretty hard line about this, I mean, they're dropping it until after the draft at the earliest, and who knows what happens then, is that it rubs the player the wrong way, and that somehow infiltrates the team and damages the team in some way. And I don't know that can't happen. The Bills have been a very harmonious group here. There's been very little, almost none of this kind of thing with them. Guys are up for contracts. Look, they let guys go too, but draft development, they let Tremaine Edmonds go. They just weren't going to pay the price. And I think they were right to do that. And they've been fine in the middle of their defense, if not better than that, mostly since they let Edmonds go.
And what's the bottom line on that?
And
positional value.
They paid a third-round middle linebacker that just extended him. He's on the list of guys that was due a contract and got one, but it's much more modest than what Edmonds was looking for and ultimately got from Chicago. So it's just not an easy one to crack for me. Because I respect the Bills not wanting to just, okay, fine, what you fill in the figures. We just want you to be happy. I mean, that's not the way the world works. But neither do I want to just discard the guy. I don't want to talk about him as though I think he's disposable. He was excellent for them last year. He did. It may be an outlier, but he scored a pile of touchdowns. Like, those all count.
I don't think disposable. I think replaceable.
Okay.
I think it's always about the same point with running backs or with Edmonds in his position. It's about replaceable. If the Bills have a great quarterback who can also run, they've got a very good offensive line that stayed together all season. They had a scheme built with a sixth offensive lineman on the field constantly, and a tight end who can block. Like, it was set up, and most running backs in that environment are going to be fine, which is exactly what he's been. I don't need better. necessarily. I just don't need to be scared of life without him, I think. Thanks, Dan. Here's Sean next. Hi, Sean.
Hi, guys. Hope you guys are having a good day. I have a different twist on this. Mike, you kind of stole my thunder a little bit, but basically, like, my take was, if you look at the top 3 running backs that are paid in football, if you look at their teams, they're the reason why they win. Their quarterbacks are not, in my opinion, only my opinion, their quarterbacks aren't the reason they win. It's them that make their teams better.
Who do you have in mind there?
If I'm not mistaken, it's McCaffrey, Kamara, and who just got paid? Barkley. So, in my opinion, those 3 running backs, they make their quarterbacks on their teams better. That'll never happen here because I think, Mike, your analogy is force multiplier. Josh Allen is that, and all the things you just described in your point just before I got you put me online was he's better because Allen can run the ball. Allen is the key here. He's never going to be better than a better piece than Allen to our team. So I agree with you 100%. That's what makes him replaceable. And I don't think he can ask for top-of-the-line money because Josh Allen is the one that makes him better. This offense, just like you described, makes him better. So I completely agree. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. All of that is maybe correct, all well and good. Now put yourself in Cook's position. Okay, and, how often they put me on the field is their decision. The fact that I'm Allen's teammate, what can I do about that? That's never going to change while I'm here. So is what it is. That's what makes it so interesting and sometimes complicated, right? Because the player has sort of a rank in terms of who he is in the league, how good he is, that kind of stuff. But then on a given team, the environment, the surrounding talent, all that stuff can make it where on one team, New Orleans, if you want, like on one team, the guy carries more power, more status, than Cook probably ever will here. I'm not get rid of him, just be done, anything like that. I'm not hardcore when it comes to this. I just sort of, mostly like you, feel that the Bills really don't necessarily have to feel that much urgency on this. The player is signed, and the draft is leverage for the Bills. It is always, but especially this year with the running back craziness, like the talent.
Yeah, like I wonder if you're Cook, are you at this point? Like, I don't know what, it doesn't sound like there's much of an open dialogue happening. The way Bean sounds, like we shut it down. It's over. Like, for now, anyway. We're not talking. We didn't make any headway, and so we focused on things we thought we could get done, and now we're on to the draft. Okay, so close the book for now. Is Cook, is he worried they're going to draft someone and then play him in part ahead of him or alongside him in some way as Cook gets ready to play the final year of his rookie deal, and that thwarts the opportunity for him to put up even a 10-touchdown season to go with his 16 rushing touchdowns last year? Like, the draft is a threat to Cook. It can be. And that's why even before Bean addressed this publicly, I thought that's a really important piece to watch in this, because however they're feeling about it, you might be able to make a pretty educated guess at how they're feeling about it, how they handle running back at the draft, if at all. The earlier they do it, if they do it, could be viewed as some degree of pessimism, either about A, Cook being here, or B, him being who they want him to be and know him to be and know him to have been the whole time if he doesn't get what he wants. Like, does that push him to come back before the draft even? However Bean sounds, his agent could still call, like, all right, that last offer you had on the table that was, with this much guaranteed and whatever, can we revisit that? Like,
eventually that probably is what happens.
Because, if Cook starts to feel like, well, I've played every card I had in my hand here. Maybe go back to some more googly eyes on Twitter and whatever. However he's been using social media, try another round of that. But he might just have to live with the fact that, all right, they do love me this much, and that's as good as it's going to get now. Now I got to run the risk of what? I show up and I try to kill it this year and march into free agency. Oh, but they have the franchise. Cook just does not. The leverage he's got is that he scored a pile of touchdowns last year. And his teammates love him, and a lot of the fan base loves him. But within the team, like from a schematic standpoint, a depth chart standpoint, he's at the top of the heap, but that is precarious. Like I could easily see him getting very nervous over these next few weeks.
Oh, buddy, wait till we get Chris Trapasso on tomorrow and we do 10 minutes on DJ Giddens. You're going to be Holly Gordon. Let's go. Let's crush some tape. Let's crush some running back tape. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. Sabres pregame in 20 minutes. We'll look for a couple more calls as we continue next. This is WGR. At Ottawa, 9 games left. We'll make sure we're right about that as we get into pregame.
You're right about that.
9 games left?
Yeah. For the Sabres and Ottawa both have 9 games left. There are other teams that have fewer and some that have more.
I'm 9 points out. Is that still the number?
Let's see.
Since you're looking at it.
60, the old peepers test. 68 points. 9 points.
I don't know. Get this one. We'll see what happens.
Going for a season sweep?
Yes.
Of the Senators.
Yes. Really, it's mostly about their heroic run to over 79.5. That's the most important thing, I think, we'd all agree.
That's what we're after. Yeah.
Charlie is next. Hello, Charlie.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good. Thank you, Charlie.
Yeah, no, that's good to hear. I'm just giving you guys a call. I kind of had a question. I know everybody's talking about the draft and everything with running backs. I don't know your guys' opinion on looking places other than the draft. I don't know if you guys follow, rugby at all much. We brought in a guy, Christian Wade. He's looking a bit stronger and better than when he spent the summer in Buffalo, in these spring leagues that are coming around. The draft isn't the only option. And my second question is this Larry, I don't want to butcher the name, Ogunjobi.
You got it.
Yep. Do you guys think that he's going to live up to the toughness that comes with the name Larry in Buffalo? I mean, you got guys like Larry Playfair,
Sure.
That one that comes to mind. So just wanted to get your guys' thoughts.
Yeah, I'm sure you want them, especially on the second question. I'm sure you want them. It certainly wasn't just to call in and say all those words. It was to get our thoughts on that question. I mean, go knock yourself out trying to bring in somebody from rugby or the UFL or something like that. Sure. This draft, I mean, I don't know if you care. You probably don't. This draft everybody seems to agree, is so long in running back talent. People say that guys who won't even get picked are live. I mean, that's happened once in a while in the league, but to be important on teams, maybe even right away. James Robinson for Jacksonville, I mean, that's a rare case a few years ago, but yeah, I mean, I don't think you have to worry about rugby here to find a guy you like. Probably should be able to do it on Saturday.
And I trust that given the Bills' track record that they explore those avenues and will continue to explore those avenues. But I don't think I'm not focused on that either. I think, like you just said, to me, there's an undrafted free agent opportunity that could be better than anybody in the UFL currently. I mean, I don't know. I don't need to dig that deep.
The UFL has guys that have tried out in the NFL and played a little bit. Like Kalen Ballage is one. He was with Miami and just wasn't really good enough, but he had a big run, I know, in the first weekend of UFL. Did you follow any of that last weekend about how they almost went on strike before the first game?
Did not catch any of that. I did see a Kalen Ballage highlight, this run that you're describing. I did see that. But that was the extent of it. I'm sorry, I'm distracted over here trying to think of who the second toughest Larry in Buffalo history
there isn't one.
Could be. It's Larry Playfair is the king of the hill. There's no other Larrys that even come close.
That's what that was the point, I think. Yeah. Okay. Well, Russ Brandon is the CEO of the UFL, and Daryl Johnston is maybe his right-hand man or something, and The Rock is a co-owner. And the players wanted to go on strike, maybe they talked about it, but at the last minute they decided to play, and they sent a letter publicly revealed to The Rock, it's not you, but we just want to be able to afford health care. And I don't know, I'm not sure if that situation has changed. I have not followed up on that from on Friday. Draft idea of the day. Now, the guy that just called absolutely knew how to say Larry Ogunjobi. He was just sort of being funny. I'm not sure of myself on this one. Donovan Izuruaku, Boston College edge rusher. What do you think? Just instincts. What do you think? Love it? Hate it?
Open to it.
Open to it.
Is what I would want to say. Open to
edge.
It. Yes.
With cornerback Trey Amos going the pick before. Often Washington has taken a guy we've been talking about here at whatever position. But there you go. That's at Lance Zerline's mock draft, I should say, NFL.com.
Okay.
Sabres pregame. How about Reimer lately?
I mean, he's become the go-to guy here as March has turned to April.
He has.
Right? It was 3 out of 4, and does this not make then 4 out of 5? I gotta
Yes.
look at it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and the one he didn't play, they lost in Philadelphia.
Badly.
Yeah, he plays, they win. We didn't know this until like 2 weeks ago. He plays, they win. Sabres and Senators from Ottawa. Pregame next here on WGR.